Hi, thanks for coming on, Andy speaking, Friday 1st of November. Looking ahead to the weekend, I mean, we've only got Scotland on here, and I've got to say that's a bit poor. We'll talk about some other stuff as well, but Scotland on the whole is pretty poor. We're just having a couple of bets. Right, St Johnstone against Hearts. I mean, I've got to say, Hearts were very, very disappointing the other night. We made a bit last Saturday in midweek, but Hearts let us down. Would have been a fantastic midweek if Hearts had gone in, but lost at home to Kilmarnock. Not impressed at all, I have to say. 30, 28, 42. Anyway, St Johnstone won once at home against Ross. Lost the other three. Celtic, Aberdeen, Motherwell they've lost to. First, second and fourth. And we were on Aberdeen the other night to beat Rangers, and that was a cracking bet. So absolutely delighted that come off. Hearts, as I say, one win all season, the 4-0 win against St Mirren. Neil Critchley took over. I did expect an immediate response. That's not the case. I wouldn't be taking that at all. I mean, I put 11 to 9. It is 11 to 8. We see them at 11 to 8. 19 to 20 is far, far too short. Are they the most likeliest winners? Yes, they are the most likeliest winners. But there comes a time with teams like Hearts when you have to sort of draw a line and say, okay, enough is enough. As I say, at home to Kilmarnock the other night, I thought they would win. I expected them to win. They dished out a 4-0 drubbing against St Mirren. I thought that it would be light work for them against Kilmarnock. It wasn't, and they ended up getting turned over. Do I think Neil Critchley's the right appointment? Sacked from Blackpool, walks into a job at Hearts, not so sure. I think he's okay, Critchley. Tactically, I do. I think he's an okay manager. I just think it's him as a person. I'm not so sure that he's what I would call a great motivator of players. I could be wrong. If I had to bet here, I would obviously bet St Johnstone, but I'm not going to bet them. 0.7 at 30. Even on a poor week like this, it's not enough. I'd sooner keep my money in my pocket. St Mirren Ross 50, 26, 24. St Mirren odds on again. Don't see that. Do I think they'll win? Yes, I do think St Mirren will win. And when I first looked at this game before I'd even sort of worked it out, I thought, I'd like to back them at home to Ross, because I know that they've won 3 from 6 at home, drawn 1, and the only teams they've lost to are first place Celtic and 5th place Dundee. They've beaten every team below them, 3-1, 3-0, 2-1. Ross below them as well. So I did think St Mirren would win. I was looking forward to backing St Mirren, but not now. Ross on the road, played 4 games, drawn 2, lost 2. They've shipped 10 goals in those 4 and only scored once. I would expect St Mirren to win, as I say. Just a shame on the price. Dundee against Kilmarnock. Another tough one to assess, really, isn't it? Dundee, 1 win at home against Hearts, drew with St Mirren, lost to Aberdeen, Kilmarnock, and St Johnstone. Kitty won here earlier in the season, 3-2. Kitty on the road, got a drubbing at Celtic, lost to Aberdeen, went down by the odd goal in 3 at Ross, 1 at Dundee and Hearts, drawn at St Mirren. I would imagine they've got enough to win this. And they do look to be hitting a bit of form, don't they? I've got a down arrow on Dundee. If I had to bet here, I would bet Kilmarnock, but as I say, 0.9 at 33%. It's not there for the taking, is it? Hibs Dundee United. I don't like either of these two sides. They're probably the two sides which I wouldn't want to back. Just the 2 defeats at home against Motherwell and Celtic, both in the top 4. Only beaten St Johnstone though at home. That's the only win all season. I see them at 6-4. I think evens is a joke. They're underpriced every week. Dundee United are 5th. Now, if you look at Dundee United, they're 5th. Their form against teams below them, home and away, is 1-4, drawn 3, lost none. That's a 4-3-0 record to teams below them. On the road to teams below them, they've got a 2-2-0 record. You'd have to give them a chance here. There's 0.8 in them, 33%. We see them at 2-1. They're 14-5. That's up to you. It's a bet I'm probably going to have. I mean, I'm probably, I'll probably have a few bob there and a few bob there, but not to sort of put on the account, because these are bets that I do like. But you're going to get a 70% losing run there. You're going to get a 67. Sorry, there's a 70% chance that bet won't win, and there's a 67% chance that bet won't win. But where there is value in them over the course of a season, or maybe even longer, or over a 6-month period, whatever, you are going to finish in front, and that is the most important thing. Best bet here, if I had to play, would be Dundee United, because look, you've got two teams here at 33%. One of them's got 0.8 and one of them's got 0.09. It's the best bet in the Premiership. Will it win? I don't know, but if I had to play, that's the bet I would have. Let's have a look at the Championship, where it's a bit better. Right, Wraith Air is tonight. I found it a very tough game to assess, if I'm honest. They'd done us a favour the other night, Wraith. We were on them to beat Airdrie, strongish bet, so that come off, I was pleased. 0.38 in them tonight. I couldn't split these two sides, if I'm honest. Wraith got a 3-2-1 home record, but Air, very hard to get away from the fact that Wraith are in the bottom half. Air's record against teams in the bottom half, home and away, is 1-6, drawn 1, lost none. Air have got a 6-1-0 record, home and away, to teams in the bottom half. And on the road, that's a 2-1-0 record. They've won at Hamilton and Airdrie, drawn at Dunfermline. Only shipped 1 goal on the road to the teams in the bottom 6. It had the sort of feel of a draw to me, and the fact that the draw was just a shade over 2-1, and the way I couldn't split them, and it was just such a tough game to get your head round. But if I had to play, I would play Wraith, because there's value in it. But it was one of them. I didn't think Air would lose, but I didn't see Wraith winning. It was a sort of draw game. I could be wrong. It's on telly. It's probably kicking off around about now. Airdrie against Hamilton, 38-25-37. Again, another tough game to assess. I wouldn't give Airdrie overly much of a chance, but they played well against Wraith the other night. They've not lost at home to a bottom half team yet. They've only played 2, won 1 and drawn 1. Hamilton are 6th. So you could look at it and say, well, they shouldn't lose this. Hamilton on the at home and on the road against teams in the bottom half, 1-2, drawn 3, lost none. That's a 2-3-0 record. On the road, it's a 0-2-0 record. They've drawn both, lost none. Again, I felt this was a game that could easily be a draw, because I didn't think you could really make a cogent case for any of them. So I think a draw. The top 2 games were tough, really, really tough. Dunfermline against Partick, 34-26-40. Dunfermline, funny side. They thumped Livingston 3-0 in the week, and then they get turned over at Hamilton and things. They get turned over at Hamilton, thump Livingston. Very hard to know what you're getting with them. They've lost 2 at home to Falkirk, who are top and 4th place Queen's Park. Partick sit 5th. Partick on the road of 1-1, drawn 1, lost 3. Tough game. Again, no value in it. It was something to put a line through. Falkirk Morton, 60-27-13, 2-5. Probably fair enough. I've played 5 here, won 4 of them, drawn 1. That draw was against Livingston, who are 2nd. Hard to make a real case for Morton, isn't it? But you never know. If there's one team that is going to turn up and ruin everything, it is them. but on the road they've won none, drawn 3, lost 3. I couldn't see Falkirk not winning this. I think at 2-5 it's very short, but it was one of those, it's in the weekly double and the weekly treble, because I think it's ideal material for that. But for betting as a single, no. We want 60% for our money. We're being offered 40% for our money. We're not going to take that, are we? Livingston, Queen's Park, 55-24-21. Turned over midweek, Livingston, at Dunfermline. Drifted like a barge beforehand as well. That was the first defeat of the season. I wouldn't say they ought to. They should get back to winning ways tomorrow. They've got a 4-1-0 home record. In those 5 games, they've scored 10, conceded 3, lost none. Queen's Park on the road, they've beaten the bottom 3 away from home. Teams above the bottom 3, Reed's drawn 1, lost 2. Livingston are second. I think Livy ought to win this. There's 0.15 in them. You have got to forgive the other night. That is the only question. They were down 3-0 at Wraith, not at Wraith, at Dunfermline, and as I say, I just found that very, I don't know, I found it hard to get my head around. But Dunfermline have drawn with Ayr at home. They've beaten Wraith. It's a very, very tough. It seems to be they're becoming a bit of an odd team. They're at home to Morton. You think, yeah, well, they should win that, and that ends up being a draw. And then they're at home to Livingston. You think, well, they're not going to beat Livingston. Nobody beats Livingston. They do them 3-0. I really don't know what to make. But in this game, I think Livy ought to win. There's 0.15 in them. It's not great, but on a weekend like this, it's a bet for us. Right, let's move on to Scottish League One then. We'll deal with this game in a minute. Right, Dumbarton at home to Cove. 36-25-39. 5-4 Dumbarton. They've got a 1-3-2 home record. So they've won 1 game in 6. Yet they're at home to the leaders Cove, and they're second from bottom, and they're 5-4. And they've won 1 game, and that win was against bottom placed Inverness. Inverness are only bottom because of a points deduction, but that's beside the point. Cove on the road have got a 3-1-2 record. They've won at Alloa 2-0, Montrose 2-0, Kelty 3-1. Those teams are 3rd, 4th and 5th in the table. They've lost 2 on the road to 2nd place Steny and 7th place Queen of the South. I just don't understand the price with Dumbarton. 5-4 is stupid. I think that's a massive price. I really do. Arbroath against Stenhousemuir, 48-20-24-28. They've won, I think, 4 of the last 5. Arbroath, wheels definitely got back on. It was a fantastic win for them at Alloa last week. I didn't see that coming. Alloa hadn't lost all season. Steny is second at the moment. I think Arbroath will win. I mean, Steny have only beaten Dumbarton, who are second from bottom, and they drew at bottom place Inverness. They've lost the other 3 to Alloa, Montrose and Kelty, all without scoring. They've only scored at Dumbarton on the road. I thought Arbroath would win. There's not enough in it. Well, there's nothing in it for a bet, sadly. It was one of those that, like what I said to you about a game earlier on, that the St Mirren game, I looked at it, I thought, yeah, they'll win. Let's hope we can get some value. And then you rate them up and you think 11-10. And I thought they might be, well, we might get a little bit more. We might, I don't know, maybe 6-5 or something, but no, it's 11-10. I shall keep looking right up until the off, because I did really want to be with Arbroath tomorrow, but there's nothing in the price. Allarannan, 52-26-22. Odds on, yeah, I mean, the defeat at home to Cove, yeah, I can give that one. At home to Arbroath last time out, not so sure on that. They don't score a lot, Alloa. There's 0.13 in them tomorrow. They did win at Annan earlier in the season. I mean, Annan on the road have lost every game bar one, and that was the very first game of the season when they won at Cove 3-1. Since then, they've lost 5 on the spin on the road, and in those 5 games, they've shipped 13 goals and scored 1. I can only see one result here, really, and that's an Alloa victory. There's 0.13, and we've got to do it on a weekend like this. Right, Inverness against Kelty. I mean, I don't know how we go about dealing with Inverness currently. If we're looking at this from a form point of view, they've got a 2-4-0 home record. They've beaten Queen of the South and Annan here. They've drawn with Cove, Steny, Montrose, Dumbarton. So all likelihood is they probably wouldn't lose this game in normal circumstances, but this isn't normal circumstances. As someone said to me, is there still going to be a football club there come kick off tomorrow? And it's impossible to say. I think it would be tragic if they folded. I mean, I remember when they were a, top 5 Premiership club. Kelty have won at Arbroath and Queen of the South, drawn at Montrose and Dumbarton, lost at Steny and Alloa. 7-2 could be huge, but I mean, how do we begin to rate Inverness now? That's the question we've got to ask. We can't until we see, something from them. We just gonna have to stand aside and let it go. I mean, I think if you're taking 5-6 tomorrow, you're absolutely mad. Yes, they could come out the traps flying, all aggressive, play their hearts out for the shirt, but do footballers really do that these days? I'm not so sure. I think they're very capable of getting managers to sack, but I'm not so sure. It's a game to leave alone, and I think, I've got no interest at all, so if you wanted to back any of them, I would. Kelty at 7-2 could be huge, but as I say, we just don't know what we're going to get with Inverness, and it's just far too risky to get involved with. Queen of the South Montrose 48-24-28. They'd gone along nicely, hadn't they? They'd won 4 on the spin. Queen of the South at home, and they got a 5-1 doing at home to Kelty. They've lost the last 3 games, all told, home and away. Not so sure. There's 0.05 in them at 48%. It's not for me. I couldn't, for a team that's lost the last 3 games, I'd want to give that a swerve. Montrose, I know they're really, really happy the way they're going. They're performing better than expectations. I can tell you that. I've not spoke to him this week, so I don't really know what to expect. But like generally he says when they're away from home, if we can get a draw, they'll take that tomorrow. I'm sure they would. I think they've got every reason to be confident. I mean, as I say, Queen of the South have lost the last 3 against teams below them. They've got a 2-2-1 record on the road. Montrose, I think there's every chance they could win this, but there's nothing in them. Best bet here probably's got to be Alloa, hasn't it, with the rating and the amount that's in them. Let's have a look at League 2. Right, we'll run through League 2 and then I'll give you some other teams where there's some smidges of value from other leagues. That's including the Premiership, Championship, National League North and National League South. Whether you want to get involved in them is entirely up to you, but some of them have come out decent on ratings and they've got a bit of value in them as well. So I'd stay on and listen because could do you well. Right, Clyde, Bonnyrigg, 50-25-25. I gave all this out last week, and I knew at the time there was no League 2 last week. I don't know why I done it. It's just I was in the swing of doing it. That's not there anymore. I can tell you that's odds on. There's been money for Clyde. There's been a lot of money for Clyde this season that's been lost, I can tell you that. But I would say expectations tomorrow are they're expected to win. If you can get better than evens, do them. If you can't, not. 21-20 isn't there. I wouldn't back Bonnyrigg. You know, they're 1-1-3 on the road, Bonnie Rig. The only win came at Stirling, and Stirling are terrible at home. They've lost 3 of their 6. Let's have a look at Stirling. They're away at East 5. East 5, flawless at home. Played 5 games, won 5, scored 16 goals in the process, shipped 2. Fantastic home record that is. 5 from 5, plus 14 on the goals. But again, Stirling, who are 4th, they're no mugs on the road. They've played 4, they've won 3, but the 3 wins have come against teams 7th, 8th, and 10th. So there does, and at home as well, their best win has been against 6th place Spartans. Teams in the top half, they've played 4, lost 4, home and away. So I think there's a bit of a class barrier for Stirling, if I'm honest. And as I say, East 5, 16 goals, 5 wins at home. You'd expect them to find the net 2 or 3 times tomorrow. Edinburgh Forfar, 30-26-44. Again, I don't know what to make. Edinburgh have performed better than I expected and better than the bookmakers. I mean, everybody had them sort of odds on to finish bottom. They still might. Clyde are bottom at the moment. I can't believe Clyde are going to finish the season bottom. I would be absolutely amazed if they did. It's not beyond the realms, but Edinburgh have beaten Spartans here, drew with Bonnie Rig, lost the other 3. Tomorrow it's Forfar. They've won at Bonnie Rig, they've lost the other 4 on the road, but they've all been against the top 6. Slightly easier, calmer waters tomorrow for Forfar. There's no value in them. Elgin against Stranraer, 57-26-17. It looks good on the surface from Elgin. They're unbeaten. They've played 10, won 5, drawn 5. What I don't like is the draws have all been against teams 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. The wins have been against 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Very difficult to understand a team like that. They're second. They welcome 8th place Stranraer. Stranraer on the road have won 1, lost 4. I think Elgin would win this tomorrow. Stranraer generally don't travel. They've won at Edinburgh. That's the only place they've won at, Stranraer on the road. I don't think they'll be getting anything from here tomorrow, I have to say. I can only see one winner. But as I say, it's short enough. If we could get 4 to 5, I'd be all over it, but we're not going to. Peterhead Spartans, 50-26-24. Wheels have come off a bit, haven't they, with Peterhead? Going along really, really well. Unbeaten. Then in the last 4 games, they've drawn 2, lost 2. But to be fair, the losses have come against East Fife and Elgin, who are 1st and 2nd. So Peterhead might not be as good as what we first sort of thought they were. Spartans are 6th. Peterborough against teams below them have been pretty ruthless. Spartans on the road have drawn 3, lost 2. They did draw Elgin, which does offer some hope tomorrow. But again, guys, I have to say it's a very, very poor week in Scotland. Nothing we can do about it. But we'll have a look at some other stuff quickly. Right, into the Premiership. 2 games here where there's a smidge of value in both teams. I'm not going to say rowing, but there's a smidge of value. And the first of those is Fulham at home to Brentford. Fulham have got a 2-1-1 record. Their only defeat has been against Aston Villa. West Ham they drew, but they beat Newcastle and Leicester here. I think that's pretty decent form. Brentford on the road are 0-0-4. Now, I'm going to say something about Brentford, and they're in a false position. I shall tell you why. They sit 9th in the table. They've won 4, drawn 1, lost 4. But the 4 teams they've beaten: Crystal Palace, Ipswich, Wolves, Southampton. Teams 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. 2 of them they've only beaten by the odd goal. They shipped 3 to Wolves, 3 to Ipswich. Crikey. On the road, they've lost to Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham and Manchester United. So they've had a tough road trip, if I'm honest. Fulham, as I say, we just think that Fulham warrant being a tad shorter for this than what they are. we see them at even money. There is 21 to 20 available. It's not great, but if you wanted a bet in the Premiership that's well rated and there's value in, Fulham at home to Brentford is the game. The other game, Chelsea to win at Manchester United, 3-0-1 on the road. They've only lost one game on the road, Chelsea. That was at Liverpool, 2-1. I think I did see that game, and I thought Chelsea played well. Obviously, Manchester United, that was something else a lot of people have asked me. What do I think of the new manager? I haven't got a clue. I know he was one that was discussed at Tottenham before they appointed Postecoglou. They never interviewed Amorim. One of the reasons they did shy away was because he played three at the back, and they felt that after Antonio Conte, they didn't want to revert back to that Tottenham. So I'm not saying that is the reason why they passed on Amorim, but I know that it was something which they didn't want to go back to playing three at the back like they had under Conte, because, well, I mean, the hierarchy at Tottenham just didn't think it worked in this division. And I think when you look at the top seven, if you take the top 8 clubs, they're all playing with 4 at the back. Manchester United will be playing with 3 at the back. It all depends. He could be an absolute world beater. He could be awful. We just don't know. Do I think it's a good appointment? As I say, I just haven't got the foggiest. Anyway, United are 2-0-2 at home. They've beaten Brentford and Fulham here. They've lost 3-0 to Liverpool. They lost 3-0 to Tottenham. Chelsea are 3-0-1 on the road. Their only defeat was a 2-1 defeat at Liverpool. Chelsea are 13-8. We see them just under 11-8. I think it's about the 13-10 mark. So there's a little bit in them. Obviously, they're not rated as highly as Fulham. But if you wanted 2 plays in the Premiership, they're the teams that have got a smidge of value in. Okay. Right. In the Championship, Sheffield Wednesday. I can't remember who they're playing. If you just bear with me, Sheffield Wednesday are at home to Watford. They've won twice at home. They've beaten West Brom. Here, Sheffield Wednesday, they've beaten Plymouth, drew with Swansea, QPR lost to Leeds and Burnley, who are 2nd and 3rd, so wouldn't hold that against them. Watford on the road have won 1 and drawn none, lost 5. They've got a 1-0-5 record, and that is what's pushing Sheffield Wednesday odds on our figures. We make Sheffield Wednesday 10-11, and there is even money available. So that's entirely up to you whether you wanted to get involved in those 3. I'll run you through some National League stuff quick, but as I say, you've got Fulham, Chelsea and Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday and Fulham are both rated. Fulham are rated, 50%. Sheffield Wednesday are rated 52%. So they're both rated in 50 and over, and there's value in them. So that's entirely up to you if you want to get involved. It's not quite enough for me, even on a poor week like this, but let's have a look at National League North. Right, National League North, 2 teams here I think that are worth looking at. And the first of those is Spennymoor. They're 3-4 for a trip to Needham Market. We make them 4-6. So they've got a rating of 60%. We see them at 4-6. They're 3-4. They've won at Alfreton, Farsley, Radcliffe. Needham are bottom of the table. And they've got a 1-0-6 home record. So at home they've lost 6 from 7. Their only win was against South Shields, who sits 17th. Spennymoor are 12th. They're in the top half of the table. Needham Market's form at home to teams in the top half of the table is played 5, lost 5, and away played 4, lost 3. So their record home and away to teams in the top half, Needham Market, is played 9, won 1, lost 8. That's a 1-0-8 record to teams in the top half. Spennymoor are in the top half, only just, but they're in there. They lost the last 2, Spennymoor. to Kings Lynn and Chorley, who are second and third. Don't hold that against them. They've beaten Farsley and Ratcliffe, teams like that in the bottom. They did ought to be winning this tomorrow. Second team where we felt there was a smidge of value, and it's only a smidge because we see them 11 to 10, they're 5 to 4, so there's 0.15 in it. That's Oxford City. Oxford City are at home to Southport. We backed Southport the other night. They done us a favour when they won against Rushall. Couldn't believe the price. But Oxford City, they've only won once at home, but Southport are 2-0-4 on the road. And I mean, they've lost at Darlington, Spennymoor, Leamington. I just felt that there was a smidge in there in Oxford City, and it's entirely up to you whether you wanted to get involved or not. But they were the two teams in National League North. National League South, just bear with me. National League South, one team of interest here was Welling at home to Chippenham. 6 to 5 Welling. We made them even money. Chippenham on the road, I've got a 2-1-4 record, but their only 2 wins have been against second bottom Aveley and bottom place Weymouth. Welling are 18th. I know that doesn't sound great, but they've had a shocking run of fixtures. Out of the top 11 clubs, they've played 6 of them at home, 4 of them away. So out of 14 of Welling's fixtures, 10 of them are being against the top 11. Outside of that, they've won 3, drawn 1, lost none. So it just goes to show they're probably a bit better than 18th Welling, and they're at home to Chippenham, who are a place below them, and they've come out well on the goal swing as well, Welling. So at 6 to 5, there was a little bit in there as well. So that's it, guys. There is nothing else really left to say, is there? There was another game that somebody did ask me about. Oh yeah, Tottenham Villa. I wouldn't. Do you know? I really wouldn't want to call that. I really wouldn't want to call that. I do know parts of the board at Tottenham are very, very frustrated with the inconsistencies, and they feel that they've backed the man, and I know that the defeat at Palace last week did not go down well at all. Luckily for them, they bounced back midweek. But I think if Villa were to win Sunday, I don't think Villa will win Sunday. But I'm just saying, if Villa were to win Sunday, I do think I just think that Ange could find himself really under pressure. But there we go. That's it. I'm not going to any games this weekend. Shall watch the game now. That's on. Is it Falkirk? I can't remember who. It's Wraith, isn't it? Is it Wraith? I can't remember. I shall put it on in a second anyway while I upload this. But that's it, guys. I'm sorry it's not the greatest week. But what I'll do next week, and what I'll do from now on, is rather than just read you these teams that I did, like Chelsea, Fulham, Sheffield Wednesday, etc. I will just put these little teams. I'll put these other teams into a little table with a rating, their price, and if there's any value. And it's up to you what you do with them. Oh right, just 1 second. We got the double, haven't we? Right, we don't want to forget this because this one last week we had Aberdeen and Falkirk. Tomorrow it's Liverpool and Falkirk. 0.96 to 1 with Corals. So where are we now? We had 4, 5, 6, 7. We had 5 winners from 7. 3.22 up on 7 points. That's all nearly 50%. So it's 40 odd % profit on turnover, which is brilliant. The treble won last week for us. Tomorrow it's Liverpool, Falkirk, and Hull. Hull are at home to Portsmouth. I think John Mousinho's out of his depth in the Championship. Sad to say, but that's the case. 3 from 7 here. Again, stake 7, 3.67. That's over 50%. So between the two of them, we're averaging almost 50% profit on turnover combined, which is brilliant because we look for 12.5%, don't we? That's the magic figure. If we can hit 12.5% over the course of the season, that's brilliant. But treble's so hard to get. But as I say, you you don't need much, and that is wrong. That should be that. There we. Is that right? That's right. Yes. Right. That's it, guys. Sorry, I do apologise for that. I stand corrected. But we're 2.67 up. That's it. I'll be back next time. Have a good weekend. Good luck, whatever you're doing. Bye for now.